body in the river, high dry spell. I wasn't such a creepy geezer. I would have been seen as a gent. But when I open up my mouth, I leave them in no doubt. I know coppers, but the ones I know of, you have no idea. Taking up some deposition sites to see if I can find them like my llamas. Later on I'll do some TV interviews, pick up aim and home. See if I can find them like my llamas. Sort that out. You don't need to see my big pillow. No, don't do that. What's going on with my camera? I don't want that. I don't want you to see my bed either. Sack the police and pay me to find bodies in the water. I'll be the guy who takes cash for bodies in the water. I'll make a splash with someone. I don't like this. I like the song, obviously. Raw bodies in the water, I'll be rich. Is my microphone down again? Was it? I had an update, fixed the update, had everything sorted. Had it all done. And my microphone's on freaking low. Right, Ella Langley needs to go away. Right, I've had enough of listening to Ella Langley. She don't need, well, a short break anyway. How have we all been doing? Are we all okay? Do you know what I knew? I thought, as soon as I'm going to check chat, someone's going to say, you're quite quiet, you are. normally people just say that to troll you, don't they? But I actually know when people tell me. My microphone's off. Not too bad. At least you didn't have to hear me singing. I've not been up to much. I've had quite a bit of a break from missing people and unidentified people. We're talking a good 6 months now, which I can't believe it's been 6 months since I've stopped checking every single day. I've still read more studies than you can shake a stick at. Well, not as many as Peter Folding can shake a stick at. Not much changes around here, does it? In today's episode, we're going to be looking at what's his name now? What's a jobby? Some Dexter wannabe. What was his name? No. James Desborough. It's not a very recognisable name. It's not like it rolls off the tongue, is it? Probably because he's called James, you know. Knew he was boring. So he's had to take on some persona of some other fucking bloke on the telly, right, and act out his fantasies by killing people because he's an idiot. So James Desborough inherited some land, and on this land, two bodies were found. And both cases are cases that we've featured and covered. And it's really sad. It's really sad to go over updates from these missing persons cases. This is like
There's too many to count now, isn't there? How many have we covered? And we've ended up being murdered. The old, I think I spoke too soon when I said a few months back we haven't had many serial killers about. Boom, one pops up. Like woodworm in woodwork. Oh, thank you. Yes, my PJs, my Sheen special. Why is it some of the cheapest pyjamas you can buy are the best? I think they were like £5 or something at Christmas. Brilliant set of pyjamas. So, yeah, we're going to be looking into when he was arrested, and we're going to be looking at the sentencing remarks. But the reason I haven't covered it is obviously because I've had this break, and so, which doesn't do a disservice. It actually helps the case along, doesn't it, by keeping your mouth shut. But let's have a... Let me get a little newspaper article so we can have a little brief, and then we're going to have a look into it. I've not done much research. It's just what I've seen in the news. Thought I'd watch it along with you. Stupid giggle. So yeah, Devon and Cornwall police. They said triple killer guilty of Cornwall murders and strangling prison cellmate. So not only were 2 bodies found on his property, and he actually went on to kill another person inside the prison. You know when I say be careful who you clap for when you find that these wrong uns have been taken out. I'm not saying the person that's been killed is a wrong un. I don't believe someone of that calibre has got the right to take somebody else's life. There's a reason why we give certain people that job. And there's a... If it's good enough for one, it's good enough for all. And it's not good enough for all because we're not doing it to them all. So it's a sad waste of time. I don't know who that person is that he took the life of. But I'm certainly not going to be one of those people that sits here clapping because, like I say, you don't know who you're clapping for. Right? At the end of the day, there's a reason most people are in prison. Not all of them. We've always got to understand that there's going to be some innocent people in there. There generally are. I don't know the case with the person that was murdered inside the prison. I don't. All I know is this man's got some kind of, I don't know, brain infliction or something where he thinks he's got the ability to act out the fantasies of a TV character. That's delusional, isn't it? Because I worry about being delusional, but that's delusional. At least I never thought I was Veronica Mars. But if I was, I'd fucking nail it. That's all I'm saying. But this idiot, you know, what annoys me about this case is I've seen so many murders and killings featured on the news and what have you not, where there seems to be some excuse that the person was some kind of child abuser or not wanted in society. Who are these people? Who do they think they are to make that decision? Like, I'm not being funny. I don't want no man making decisions based on my abuse. I won't like that. No. If I wanted to do that, I'd do that. Not saying I would. That's not anything like that. You know what I mean? I don't bring thanks to people like that. And it automatically implies that somehow these people are wrong people. They were fucking homeless. 2 of them were homeless. They were the most vulnerable. They were in the most vulnerable part of their lives at that time when he decided to take their lives. And when you get into it and you see the details of it, you'll understand these people weren't wrong uns. This man's the wrong un. There ain't no way anyone can convince me that this man just had some kind of ego trip that thought he was some kind of fallen angel or some shit. I can't be doing with it. And it's really, really annoyed me. So let's get into it. A triple murderer has been found guilty of killing 2 vulnerable men in Cornwall before strangling his cellmate to death while on remand in prison. James Desborough, aged 40, murdered and dismembered Claudio Aquilino and Daniel Coleman. My apologies if I said Claudio's surname wrong. He then tried to burn and bury their remains in woodlands surrounding his remote cabin home in Sticker. So, not only are we talking about someone that's so deprived that he took multiple lives, but he's so deprived that he disrespects and does inhumane things to men. And they're most vulnerable. Where's the honour in that? Tell me, where's the honour in? There is none. It's none, not for me. Like I say, I'll always keep in mind, be careful who you clap for. There's not many people in this world, apart from Martin Lewis, right? Ain't many people in this world that you can trust. I mean, Martin Lewis, the money saving expert. And Kevin Costner, of course. My 2 main men in my world. Got a parasocial relationship with them both. They don't know it yet. Daniel was 43 years old and Claudio was 57. They were both homeless and they both trusted Desborough as a friend. He accessed their bank accounts, spent their money and attempted to cover up his crimes after they had disappeared. You're going to profit off the death of someone. Just takes it to a new level, doesn't it? A whole nother level. Always money at the root of all this. Specialist team. I gather he was one of those people. The impression I'm getting from what I've heard, I'm gathering he was one of those people that made out like he was a good person and he was offering help to these vulnerable men. They might not like to be called vulnerable, and I respect that. But technically, they are at risk. Living on the streets, they are at risk. And they're at risk of people like this to take advantage of them. You know, in the world of unidentified missing people, homeless people are up there with the most vulnerable and the most susceptible to being unidentified. And that dehumanises them. Not having their name dehumanises them. Just because they didn't have a home, just because they didn't have a job, you know, doesn't mean they weren't loved, doesn't mean they didn't have a name. But this person, this piece of shit, thought it was normal to take those lives away. Thought nobody would know, nobody would care. Oh, we do. Truly do. What, for money? He did it for money. Yeah, so what was one inside the prison was like, oh, I just got to kind of show that I'm doing it. Not for money, but for the love of God and all that shindig. All right, what God is that? Specialist teams and forensic scientists spent 5 months carrying out painstaking searches of Paramar Woods to find both victims' remains as part of a major police operation. After being charged with the murder of Daniel and remanded in custody at HMP Exeter, Desborough strangled his cellmate, Stephen Kempster, because he was irritated by him snoring. Because he was snoring. It's annoying me that the press are making a thing about this, him being a fan of Dexter. Like I say, the implication there that these people have somehow done something fucking wrong to deserve to have been taken away like that. No, I just don't like it. You got to have some kind of fucking ego trip, haven't you, to take someone's life because you didn't like snoring. What were the prisons playing at? That's the most. That's not someone that's I'm not trying to put murder on certain levels, but murder is on certain levels. That's not someone that's took someone's life out of a crime of passion or in the heat of the moment. Someone that normally wouldn't do something like that, or is a careless, thoughtless individual. This person was calculated and careless and very depraved, to the fact that he burnt their bodies, he dismembered their bodies, and he dumped their bodies like they were rubbish. And he took someone's life because they snored. Because he fucking snored. Ain't no telling me that nobody deserves that. No. A jury today, which was Tuesday the 28th of July, took just 3 hours to find Desborough guilty of the murders of Daniel and Claudia following a 6-week trial at Winchester Crown Court. He admitted perverting the lawful burial of both men and will be sentenced on Wednesday the 29th of July. Desborough was convicted of the murder of Stephen Kempster following a separate trial at Exeter Crown Court. Where? Oh! Do you know what? I got mixed up with someone else's name for a quick second. My soul left my body for a slight second and I thought, don't tell me. Thank God it's not. Detective Superintendent Rachel Bentley, head of Devon and Cornwall Police's major crime investigation team, said the murders of Claudio Aquilino and Daniel Coleman were callous and cold-blooded. Both men were vulnerable and trusted James Desborough as their friend. Desborough not only brutally murdered both men, but then savagely desecrated their bodies, seeking to hide the evidence of his crimes. In doing so, he denied both men of dignity and their families of the opportunity to say goodbye. I think it honestly breaks my heart. Breaks my heart reading this, because I remember doing some of the appeals and seeing some of those family members saying, where are you? I've seen the appeals for these people. They may have been homeless, but they were loved. I remember both of those faces. Both of them were loved. Truly. They had friends. So did Stephen Kempster. No doubt about that. What right did this man have to take that man's life? Whether he was a criminal or not, what right did he have? It could have been a success story. It could have been one of those people that turns their life around and saved another. Don't know. We'd never know. We'd never know. Surely someone's got to answer questions for Stephen Kempster. Someone's got to answer questions for that, because I'm really pissed at that. Why did he put someone so savagely dangerous in a cell with somebody else? Why? That's a whole different level of psychopathy, isn't it? To do that to somebody. To be on the level to dismember a person's body. It makes me sick to think about it. So to be able to hold that in and do it, I think you're justified in doing it. I think clearly that the warning signs were there. He was a danger to everybody else around him. Desborough then set about spending their money and also sought to lay a false trail for detectives to follow in trying to convince people they were still alive. They said, I would like to pay tribute to the families of Claudia and Daniel, who have conducted themselves with a quiet dignity throughout this investigation, and who have had to listen to and see some harrowing evidence. Well, I'm not... Right. I do understand, right, you know, you need people to behave and what have you not when they're going through that, but they're not undignified for being upset. The family members that can't control themselves because of the grief that they're going through does not mean that they're undignified. I know it's a bit nitpicky to say that, but I do find sometimes that does leave a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. But I get what they're saying when they say that, you know. It makes it even harder, doesn't it? But then again, my trust in that's gone anyway. This was an extremely challenging and complex investigation which required painstaking detective work, an extremely detailed forensic examination in a challenging physical environment. I would also like to thank all of the witnesses in the case who came forward and gave evidence, and the jury for their careful and considered attention throughout the trial. Daniel Coleman was reported missing on the 17th of June 2025. And inquiries led officers to Desborough's Woodland home. Detectives discovered Desborough had been using Daniel's bank card, and he was initially arrested on suspicion of fraud and subsequently murder. Part of me wants to know, was he using that bank card not to benefit? It doesn't look... His home didn't seem very flashy to me. I wonder if he did that because he wanted to be caught. How's everybody else going to know he's like Dexter if he's not caught, eh? You won't think it, but some of these fucking sickos actually want to get caught. I'll do your job then if you must. Daniel's phone was found under Desborough's mattress and his bank card and watch in a metal tin under the cabin's decking. Yeah. It's not keeping trophy. I'd normally put that down to keeping trophies, you know. But then I just feel like he's just going, yeah, look, all the evidence is here. You've got everything you need, officer. I did all of those terrible things. Claudio's SIM card and gym membership card were also located in the tin, and a missing person inquiry was launched to find him. Claudio's bank card was later found in a roof space of the shack. Well, hang on then. Oh, that does actually send me a little bit of a different way. Because that's not like... That's a little bit too difficult to find. So I don't know whether that was hidden aside for a getaway. Use it on the sly when he needs to run. In the following days, a shallow grave was located at the site containing human remains, later confirmed to be those of Daniel. Remains identified as being those of Claudio were found in a stream close to Desborough's cabin. Searchers also uncovered notes and drawings penned by Desborough in which he listed hostiles, said, "I know I'm a killer," and marked a kill zone on a scribbled map. Right, there's an image, right? Let me show you this fucking, Right, I'm going to show you something. It's nothing sensitive, so don't worry. It's not sensitive. Oh, may he rest in peace. So when I looked at this image, it's something that stuck out to me like a sore thumb. In that image is this thing hanging up here. Look like it's a plant growing up, right? It's not, it's camouflage. Anyone that's played Call of Duty or any other game or been in the army, most of you, to be honest with you, most people know that is camouflage for when you're in the bush. Right, so when you're in the forest, it looks like you're just one of nature. Can't even be seen. Why the fuck would you need that? What are you hunting? That's what my first thought was. And part of me thinks people. And I'm very concerned that we're not just talking about 2 people, 3 people. I think there's a potential for a lot more. And maybe, I'm not going to bring up any cases that I think, that's not for me to do. But I would, remember, I'm not a professional or anything, but what I would be worried about is he only had this land for a certain amount of time. So he can only use that land for that time to dispose of those bodies. Yeah, there's a possibility he could have used it prior when his family members owned it. Yeah, could have done. But that's risky, isn't it? So what would he, if he was doing this prior to owning this land, because there's nothing saying that he didn't, and there's nothing that's saying that he did. There's no evidence either way, as we know of as yet. But I worry that maybe there's a possibility that because we're looking at a criteria there, aren't we? We're looking at a bit of a criteria of vulnerable men. And the cases like this highlight it, really do highlight it. And you're right, Dry Spell is a very sick man. Terminally sick as well. One of those that will never be cured. But yeah, that camouflage just give me the thought and the feeling that he may have been using that to terrorise some of these people. So, where was I at? Remains identified as being those of Claudio were found in a stream close to Desborough's cabin. Searchers also uncovered notes and drawings penned by Desborough, in which he listed hostiles, said, "I know I'm a killer," and marked a kill zone on a scribbled map. And just part of me feels like that is kind of I've got a sick feeling about it. Which means shit, doesn't it, in the world of forensics. Desborough told a forensic biologist searching the woods he particularly enjoyed the dismemberment scenes in the television series Dexter. Did he even go that much into detail into those scenes? He denied both murders, claiming he found both men dead in the woods and felt pressured into disposing of their bodies. Oh, that old excuse! They were already like that when I found them. Alright, why are you using the bank cards then? Forensic scientists will go on to recover more than 1,900 burnt bone fragments from the stream. How many bones do we have in our body? So there's 206 bones. Holy shit. Whoa. But they have put them down as fragments. Some of those fragments could not be identified. However, detectives and experts have no reason to believe they belong to anyone other than Claudio. Detectives believe Desborough murdered Claudio Aquilino in April 2025. Claudio's burnt and fragmented remains were identified in the stream close to his cabin. Forensic experts also determined Claudio's DNA was found on an axe found hanging from a tree close to some of the remains. Holy fucking shit. Paints a picture you don't want to bloody see, doesn't it? Claudio was last seen alive leaving a pub in Newquay with Desborough on the 18th of April 2025, after which almost daily contact with his family suddenly stopped. He had the night before called police over concerns Desborough wanted him to help with a break-in, describing him as off his head and kamikaze. Whoa. So, did the police go out? What happened? So, seemings it's... I wonder if he found out that he'd called the police on him. The court heard it was no coincidence Desborough's phone was switched off from the 16th of April to the 22nd of April 2025. Spending patterns from Claudio's bank accounts also changed, and transfers were made to Desborough's own funds on 6 separate occasions. Desborough was caught on CCTV using Mr. Aquilino's bank cards to withdraw cash. On the 24th of June 2025, Desborough travelled to London Paddington by train and spent 2.5 hours in the capital before returning to Cornwall. Where was that? There. He used Claudio's card on the outward journey, but not on the return trip. The court heard this was an attempt to create a false trail. Claudio was still alive and had left Cornwall. Claudio's family said in a statement, "As a family, we are completely and utterly mortified in the violent murder of Claudio and the manner in which his body was disposed. Claudio will always be in our thoughts, and we now pray he is at peace. We as a family cannot thank Devon and Cornwall police officers enough for all their support and the care throughout this profoundly sad ordeal for the family, and they thanked them. Daniel Coleman, Desborough murdered Daniel Coleman on the 3rd of June 2025 following weeks of escalating anger towards him. A note found in Desborough's cabin headed Hostiles contained the entry Dan with 3 crosses beside it. Holy shit! 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing. That's what he was playing on. Playing God. Daniel was last seen alive on the 3rd of June 2025 after spending the day with Desborough in pubs in Falmouth and Truro. Holy shit. That's just unbelievable, isn't it? How unbelievable is it that someone can... Sorry, let me just chain this. How unbelievable is it that someone can treat other people's lives like that? Desborough used Daniel's car to buy a handsaw, a knife, a galvanised bucket, fire lighters and gloves, and attempted to burn and bury his remains in a shallow grave. After killing Daniel, he texted the Quatis that the coast is clear and there was no more aggro. Desborough forged a note to suggest Daniel had voluntarily left the area and gone walking to St. Trails. The killer used Daniel's email to book a coach journey from Pennants to Exeter on the 27th of June 2025 in an attempt to make it appear he was alive and had left Cornwall. Desborough was also seen on CCTV taking a taxi to purchase fuel and a petrol can on the 26th of June 2025. Daniel's family said in a statement, "We as a family would like to thank the police, the prosecution and everyone else for getting justice for Dan. Dan was loving, caring and compassionate. He was a man who will be forever loved and sadly missed." In the search, an extensive and meticulous forensic police search of Paramar Woods in Sticker ran from the 30th of June to the 28th of November. Holy shit, that's a long time. Wow. To be honest with you though, I think the actors in that amount of time, how could you not? I'm quite content that they actually spent quite a lot of time there. And you're right, Try. We can't ever try and make sense from the senseless. Yeah, probably just go, "Hi Lee, nice to see you." Yeah, probably just go on to terrorising other people. And they have to live with the death sentence of being around him. That's good, isn't it? It's just at a whole new level. Police teams covered 5 square kilometres of woodland, and watercourses utilising 1,136 officer deployments. The 175-day operational period equated to a combined total of 198,800 search hours. Of these, 96,266 hours were dedicated to the search for human remains and potential further deposition sites. This involved the painstaking removal of leaf litter to identify changes in soil composition and signs of ground disturbance. If you've ever seen like a compost bin, it's a very good example. A compost bin, if you haven't turned it, I mean. So when I first got my compost bin, I'd put like my veggies in it, throughout the summer, what have you not. By autumn, I'd put all my grass cuttings in there, and then it would just be autumn leaves. And then the next season, it'd be vegetables, grass cuttings, hedge cuttings, then autumn leaves. And you can see the layers in those. If you turned that, you wouldn't see the layers. And that's kind of how they're going off the disturbance. There'd be like a layer of leaves decomposing between soil and what have you not. But I'd love to see that in action, to see a little bit more about how they actually did do that. I think that's the one thing we're missing in the UK from America, is how good our forensics are and the explanation of our forensics. Why not educate the public? If you want them to get involved, you want them to bring information, and you want them to help you bring justice, teach them about what it is that they're learning, because in the world of the internet, people are just going to ask questions, and when they can't get those questions answered, it leads to suspicion, and they just don't trust them anymore. So I think a lot more needs to be done when they go into subjects like this, because I would be so interested in that. Teams also carried out fingertip searches through dense laurel and bogland on their hands and knees. Sorry, laurel and bogland on their hands and knees. Dense laurel as well. Right. Wasps. They had to do that through June and November. June and August alone. Ugh. The wasps that are living in that. Ugh. Must have been a very pleasant job to do. The force worked closely with specialist colleagues from the National Search Centre, the National Crime Agency, the Environment Agency, the Fire Service, and archaeological experts. The operation saw the first documented dammed watercourse diversion and high assurance fingertip search of a watercourse bed. Oh, please. I need to see that. But see, the questions about water searches as well. The fact that they made history here, bringing out new techniques and going above and beyond in their searches, I think that brings the dignity back to these two men. I really do think it does, because they went above and beyond. I think it's plain to see when the police neglect vulnerable people. I think it's plain to see. It's very easy to spot. But I don't think we acknowledge it enough when they do go out of their way. And I'm sure they had to make an example of how we should treat vulnerable homeless people, especially when they're missing. And it's setting an example in the right way, truly the right way. So I'm thankful that they have gone out of their way. Doesn't mean I trust the police, but I am thankful that they went above and beyond from what it sounds like. And I would love to see that documented damned watercourse diversion. As boring, I know some people might think that's boring. It's not to me. It's not so important. The more we educate people on how searches are conducted. I know they can't show everything, because there's obviously going to be some bits in there that's going to show some of their remains. And we don't want to see that. Not because I've got any distaste for those people, just want to give them their respect by not seeing it. I don't need to see that. No one needs to prove it to me that they found the body there. You know, it's not that big of a question. But I would like to see how these searches are done. When PC Thackeray did it he wasn't showing how the search was done, but he was showing how Nicola Bulley's body could have floated down the river. What annoyed me is a lot of people were like, how can you demonstrate that? You're not even floating, you're walking down the river. Well, he can't sit there and float, can he? You know? Someone already died in there. You know, it's difficult to do. He could hit his head on rocks or anything. It's not a safe thing to do. And also, he's not dead, so it was hard for him to mimic how a dead body actually acts. Nothing on Nicola Bulley there, but, you know, the fact that he had to try and demonstrate how a body floated down the river, and people are expecting him to show it spot on, is just, I always found that mad. But I found it very interesting, and it's things like that educate the public more, and it solidified my thoughts in certain things. You know, they were saying that the river was so shallow, no one could drown in it. All right, well, you heard of dry drowning before? You know, such a mad world. I can't. How many years ago now was the Nicola Bulley case? Although I didn't cover it at the beginning, how many years ago now? You're talking 4 years. 3 years, isn't it? We're going up to 3 years now. Oh, it's over 3 years. The force, may she rest in peace. The force worked closely with specialist colleagues from the National Search Centre, and this involved diverting the stream to enable the systematic sieving of 300 metres of its bed. Wow. I know a place that could do with that type of search. The pond where the 2 milk carton kids went missing. (2023). Wow. It's like I've been in a time warp. This element of the search required 104 officers working over a 6-week period, contributing a combined total 1,664 hours of work. Gravel and sediment were carefully sieved to a depth of 2 millimetres in order to identify even the smallest bone fragment and other evidential material. I know a lot of people would be thinking 2 millimetres, but I'm sure they understand how the silt and the sediment all build up over time. And I'm sure that was deemed quite reasonable. Desborough brutally attacked and squeezed the life out of his prison cellmate, Stephen Kempster, while he slept in the early hours of the 15th of September 2025. He then waited hours to raise the alarm, pretending the 65-year-old Stephen had fallen out of his bed and wasn't breathing. Desborough had told fellow prisoners the previous night that he would kill Stephen if he was irritated again by his snoring. Desborough was sentenced for the murder of Stephen at Exeter Crown Court on the 15th of June 2026. He was jailed for life to serve a minimum of 18 years. You know what? Sitting there bragging to other people that you're going to kill someone because they're snoring, right? That ain't going to make you top of the hierarchy in prison, is it? That's going to put a target on your back. Because people know you're so unreasonable that you'd take someone's life because of snoring. So do you think the second they see you frown, they're going to go, oh, just leave him alone? I'm not going to defend myself. Nah, they're going to do something. Because there's a chance that this person could then go and take their lives because they've annoyed him. Or he was annoyed for some mad reason that day. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that, by the way. His Honour Judge James Patrick told Desborough, simply put, you squeezed the life out of him and left him for dead. It is the inevitable inference from what you had said that you strangled him as he slept. It was some hours before you alerted the authorities to what had happened. Desborough and Stephen shared a cell on D Wing of the prison from the 12th of September 2025. The judge said Stephen was an older, frailer man who tried to keep himself to himself and had a health condition which meant he snored. He added, he had the misfortune to be allocated a cell with you, James Desborough. You were younger, more confident and stronger. Your cellmate irritated you so much that you asked to be moved. It is likely that it would have happened if you had been more patient. As it is, you said that you would kill him if he snored again. Seemingly you did, and so you did. Detective Superintendent Bentley said, Stephen Kempster was also vulnerable by virtue of his age and health conditions, and was murdered seemingly for snoring. For Desborough to take Stephen's life in this way was cowardly. Yeah, truly. Fucking truly. Ain't no big man. No one is going to be like, you're such an hard man. You like the men off the TV that says some mad powerful line when you took someone's life. No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Let's have a look. Fucking remember that photo. May he rest in peace. So yeah, let's have a look at when they arrested him. And then we're going to have a look at the sentencing remarks from the judge. Might want to turn the volume on, Cal.
One sec. Let's just sort the cuffs, and then we will sort everything slow time, mate. Alright, yeah, no worries.
It rains.
Fucking tit. Doesn't even know the proper saying. It's supposed to be when it rains, it pours. Ugh. Woke up like, I don't want to go to school today, mummy. shouldn't it really be someone that's been accused of something of that calibre, right? The level of dismembering someone, right? We already know that that's a level of psychopathy that you can't control, right? So, as a precaution, why was he put on D-Wing? Why? They can't say they didn't know he didn't have mental health issues. The man fucking dismembered people, man. They clearly knew. Might not have proved it in a court of law, but they knew. They proved it now, but I mean at the time.
That's it. It's not from down there, it's from the way there.
I don't think there is making any sense out of any of this.
Like, confused to what's on there, are you?
You know, trying to... Was he trying to be like Dexter? Was he trying to be some kind of vigilante? Was he just a thief that was greedy, wanted to take people's lives? So all of those things rolled into one. And I think that's because he's mentally ill. I'm not trying to give an excuse, but there's a mentality there that's not normal. Not at all.
We've got, there's an issue going on here, and we just need to have a chat.
James, just listen to me for a minute, mate, alright? So the time is 18:06 and you're under arrest on suspicion of fraud.
You reckon I can get some coke? Because I've got no boxer shorts on.
Yeah, of course.
I've got broken into when I was away. I had all my stuff smashed up.
I've got to come in with you, alright, mate? But, right, what do you need?
Well, I'd like to put them shorts on.
You want to put those shorts on? Yeah, I think we can sort out. Are you going to stay nice and calm with us, mate?
Oh, yeah. Desborough, D-E-S-B-O-R-O-U-G-H.
So, this is 2 murders in 2 months. I'm not quite sure that these 3 are the only 3.
Just come in a minute, mate. James, the time is 21:35, right? At this moment in time, I'm arrested on suspicion of murder. Okay, if you do not say anything... 1 second.
Yeah, mate, we'll...
Right, we'll sort... Do not say anything, but it may harm your defence. Do not mention when questions don't be later on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence, alright? Necessity for your arrest or a prompt and threatened investigation, alright? And protect the vulnerable person. Well, James, 1 second. Let's just sort the cuffs, and then we will sort everything snowtime, mate. Alright, yeah, no worries.
We can get that squared away, mate, alright?
Should I go for a wee as well?
Just let me talk to you in a minute.
What kind of victim? What kind of murder points are you getting
James,
for killing an old man?
Police officer at the time is 1712, and at this time you're under arrest on suspicion of murder. Okay.
You know, more and more in society now, are we realising the vulnerability of men that are homeless? More and more, right? And we see people attacking the homeless, and rightly so. Communities go all up in arms over it. That's not how we treat our homeless. The councils may treat them like that. The police may treat them like that. The army may have treated them like that. Their family may have treated them like that. That's not no way for anyone to be treated. We need to change that in society. These people are extremely vulnerable. And it goes to prove how vulnerable they are, because there's predators like him. So the jury took 3 hours to find him guilty of murder. And to be honest with you, when you figure out, oh, bless you. Oh, no, I don't want your... I didn't want that. Right. Let's get the James Dempster. Let's get the sentencing up.
Very rare and reserved distinction.
I think this is the full footage. I don't think there's any... I think this is the whole of the remarks. Yeah, by the looks of it.
Your sentences. James Desborough, yesterday here at Winchester Crown Court, a jury convicted you of the murders of Claudio Aquilino and Daniel Coleman. You murdered these individuals in 2025 on your land at Paramore Woods, Sticker in Cornwall. I will refer to your victims as Claudio and Daniel, as we have done throughout the trial.
Listen, I just want to mention something before anyone goes on, right? I'm not criticising this judge, by the way. I'm with this judge, right? I've worked in places, right, and some of those places where I've worked, they've made men go home and shave, right, because they've had some stubble on their face, right? Do you know how annoying it is as a manager for one of your employees to have to go home and you're a person down on the pallets because they didn't shave? I used to hate that. I absolutely hate it. I would lose my nut. If my manager told me to go home and shave my armpits, I'd go mad. I'd be like, who are you talking to? So why is it normal to say it to blokes? Why is it normal to say to men, oh, you need to shave your face? No, that's not normal. That's not normal. As long as they're clean. Who cares? And if you're working with food, put a beard mask on. Simple as that. I don't know why his beard reminded me of that, of when I was working at a place. At places.
Earlier in this case, on the 25th of March 2026, you entered guilty pleas to counsel preventing the lawful burial of these individuals, but at trial, you maintained a not guilty plea to the murders, claiming that Claudio had taken his own life and that Daniel was found dead by you on your land. By their guilty verdicts, the jury rejected those claims. It is now my task to sentence you for these murders. I have been assisted by submissions from Mr. Hussain King's Counsel and Miss Layla Tai for the Crown, and from Mr. Brunton King's Counsel and Mr. Paul Grumbach, who represented you at trial. Mr. Brunton King's Counsel realistically took the approach that little can be said by way of mitigation on your behalf. Where I state facts in these remarks, I am sure of those facts, based on the evidence I heard together with the jury at this trial. While awaiting trial...
Imagine your defence was like, do you know what? Do you know what, Judge? I can't come to court with any words. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't. That's a fucking hard decision to make, isn't it, for a solicitor? Holy shit. But if you can't find no nice words to say, you say nothing at all, right? Well, not me. Fog all leg all over here.
You murdered another person, Stephen Kempster, while on remand in Exeter Crown Court. You were convicted of that murder in March 2026 and sentenced by His Honour Judge James Patrick in Exeter Crown Court on the 15th of June 2026 to imprisonment for life with a minimum term of 18 years and 94 days. As described by the judge when he sentenced you,
I've got no glasses on.
Mr. Kempster by strangling him as he slept with your cellmate. You had earlier threatened to kill him because of his snoring and carried out that threat. Like the victims in the case before me, Mr.
So it's like there was two incidents. One when Claudio rang the police to say that he was trying to get him to rob a place. And then when he was telling prisoners that he was going to kill him. Do you think it was only the prisoners he told that to, or do you think he told the staff when he put in a request to move? A request, I mean. A quest.
Was an older, frail and unwell man. I have been assisted by the reports from that trial and did not consider I needed any further reports about you for the purposes of the hearing today. You are now aged 40. I cannot re-sentence you for the murder.
Life in prison begins at 40.
Of Mr. Kempster. But given you are already subject to a life sentence with a minimum term, as I have specified, my concurrent sentences for the murder of Claudio and Daniel must reflect your overall criminality. Having seen and heard you give evidence, and considering the circumstances in which you murdered Mr. Kempster, I am sure that you are a highly dangerous individual who has no regard for the lives of people who you think are worthless. You are a person who can kill using extreme violence with no remorse or indeed reflection on your actions. Before I turn to the sentences, I wish to say a few words about each of your victims. I have read and heard moving victim personal statements for a number of people this afternoon. They include statements from Claudio's uncle David and statements from Daniel's younger brother Tony, his former wife Rebecca, and from his mother Sandra. Claudio was born on the 19th of March 1968.
Do you know how much heartbreak you've got to spread in the world to get someone's ex-wife to speak out about you? To bring you back to the family that you left. I don't mean that in a horrible way. Life moves on. When relationships end, life moves on. Right? In what world? In what world does that poor woman having to go through this? It must be a very confusing time. Very confusing time. But it just goes to show how much that man was loved. You don't get that very often, do you? Where someone's ex comes out to speak. Your ex-wife. And that just truly goes to show that man didn't deserve that. And none of those other men deserved that.
He had a troubled life and suffered from a long-standing drug addiction, but Claudio kept in daily contact with his mother, who lived in Italy. They spoke every day, and she often sent him money. He was a vulnerable person and often suffered abuse at the hands of those who sought to exploit him. He had a loving, larger family, but as is often the case, his addiction and behaviour had led to his isolation from them. Claudio was an intelligent and talented artist and an excellent cook, and is described as a person who always had a smile on his face.
Daniel was born on the 14th of September 1981. At the time of the murder, he had been in a toxic relationship with his new wife Hannah for some time, and the negativity surrounding this relationship played a large part in this trial. At some point, you, Mr. Desborough, had a sexual relationship with Hannah while she was Daniel's partner. Daniel struggled throughout his life with alcohol dependency and a number of medical issues which made him vulnerable. You also have had a troubled childhood and faced substantial challenges in this regard. Daniel was a kind and caring and loving person. No sentence I can pass today can make up for the unbearable loss Claudio's and Daniel's families have suffered as a result of your actions, Mr. Desborough. But I must emphasise that the sentences are for me alone to decide, applying established legal principles. I turn to the murders. As I will describe, although these murders were committed a few months apart, they shared certain common features. There is a pattern to your killing. Offending. Both Claudio and Daniel were befriended by you at Sandy Lodge in Newquay in 2024 to 25. Sandy Lodge is a multi-occupancy residence which housed people who are homeless and those struggling with...
I couldn't understand why I couldn't hear it very well. That floorboard. He's not really full Dexter inspired though, is he, right? Or like full on serial killer inspired. Like the worst serial killers are like, yeah, I killed them all. And they tell them every fucking detail, don't they? He wouldn't. He's too worried about getting further. Got life in prison, but he'd be still worried about getting a further more years in prison. So I'm about to fame him. Oh. Yeah. Whole life. That bar. Yeah. Kind of wanted Justice Goose to do his thing there. Take him down. Take him down. What, is he going to be one of those prisoners that got to keep into solitary confinement for the rest of his life? Not only is he a risk to the other prisoners, he's a risk to the staff. And like I say, there's people that go in there that are innocent. There'll always be the risk of that. What does it do to the people that, for whatever Stephen Kempster, was in prison for, whatever that reason was, I'm sure it's not for something. Well, he's on D-Wing, isn't he? So, but what does that do to his victims? Or victim, if there were any? Say it was a different case. Let's not say it was Stephen Dempster, but say in another case where someone on a wing is murdered. What does it do to the victims when these people are getting sympathy because our life has been taken in such a way? No one's going to want that. They don't want that to happen. They might wish some very nasty things. They might even wish that very nasty things themselves, right? But when you think about it, the reason that James Desborough was in prison was because he murdered someone. He murdered 2 people. Again, be careful who you clap for. 'Cause people in this world, clap for them, they'll give you the clap back. With that tarpaulin on the here, it's like he was creating some kind of retreat for vulnerable men. Really? What I want to watch tomorrow is the Legacy Funeral Directors. Now, the Legacy Funeral Directors, if you remember, we covered them quite a while back, but we had to go very, very quiet because emotions were extremely high. The case was very brand new, and we had so many questions that it wasn't safe to continue streaming about it until the case had concluded. Highly sensitive case. And to be honest with you, if I would have read everything that went on in court, it would have killed me off. For fuck's sake. But I want to cover that one tomorrow. The sentencing remarks for that one is 54 minutes. So that's quite a jobby. Let's finish the night off and watch an old episode of Crime Watch. Da-da, da-da-da. No, you're going to copyright me. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Right, we were on, I think, we're on March 85. I think. No! I did it again. I'm not allowed to play the intro. Before we continue, please be reminded that some of these episodes of Crime Watch are extremely old. Some of the cases that we've previously seen, people have been found innocent of. Although, it's been confirmed in the Crime Watch they were charged with the crime, convicted of the crime, and then years later, found innocent. Completely freaking innocent. So you have to be very mindful that some of the cases that may pop up in some of these programmes may not actually tell the full story in today's standard. More information may have come out since these episodes, which could prove somebody's innocence or someone's guilt. So please bear that in mind. Whoa. distraction thefts are still a thing. The most recent one that I remember seeing that I thought was kind of intriguing was, for fuck's sake, was a woman that went and cuddled a man who had worn a designer watch. Obviously, she pickpocketed the watch off him. That's why she was doing it. She just randomly went up to this man, started cuddling him, took his watch off him. Fucking weirdo. I think it was a Rolex. But that in itself, distraction technique. She distracted him with a hug. I've seen another one where someone will cause aggro in the front of somebody, in the front of someone's face, and then behind them someone's going rifling through their pockets or their bag. Sometimes the thieves won't even distract you. They'll let you distract yourself. Mainly when you're shopping. One of the most scariest type of distraction thieves for me is when you go Christmas shopping and you get those... I've seen a lot of women do it. Women and men that use knives to slash handbags. Make your legs shake, I'm telling you. Make your legs shake. I'll tell you what. I wouldn't like to be in a position where I'm seeing that. What have I done here? Oh, right. Excuse me. Did this one turn out to be his uncle? Yeah, it was his uncle. That was a carpet bag. Now, to most of us, this would mean nothing. Absolutely nothing to us. But to the person that would have bought that around that time, all those words would have meant something. Because when you go and buy your carpet, you know what you want to know what you're buying for your square metre, right? So you're going to know what the pile is and all that shindig. Is it water resistant? Or, I don't know, there's all sorts of shindigs going on with carpets nowadays. But back then they were all, they were expensive as well. So you would know your shit about the carpet you were buying. Took him a long time, I think, for him to get the killer of this one. I may be mistaken. Yeah, she did many talks on nuclear power and stuff like that, and the effects that it would have on the environment. So it was assumed, because she was so knowledgeable, that it was some kind of hit. Yeah. Oh, how much I miss Safeways right now. You think he was taking her to the bank? A feisty woman though, wouldn't she, I bet? Oh. Oh. Forgot I was smoking. Imagine someone with a wedding ring. I don't know. I don't know what it could possibly be. Stolen diamonds. Holy shit, that's a Madeline McCann suspect. Oh, my leg. Hey, he's back. He's back. like a CCTV jigsaw. Example number 1000 of why CCTV is better back in the 80s than it is now. Hey, go on. 55 at least. Wearing a fleece. Well, there's a volcano there. I think when you hear cases like this from the outset, I think it'd be all too easy to think, oh, you know, it's definitely an accident, more than likely an accident. And I think that's dangerous thinking sometimes because once enough avenues are exhausted searching for the accident site or obviously her body, it can easily be dismissed as she's gone with nature now, you know, so it's harder to find her. But then we can't ignore the fact that she is very vulnerable, not for the fact that just that she can't speak English, but for the fact that she's in a foreign country travelling alone. And foreigners travelling in this country, backpacking, holidaying, doing whatever they do, are extremely vulnerable. And why we might have an issue here in the UK with foreigners coming in and what have you not. We must remember that some of them really do fall into that category of being vulnerable for no fault of their own, for just wanting here to come in to enjoy England, you know. Could easily be done then, yeah? I wonder if they found a backpack then. Ooh. Bringing in the sonar! Ah! Ah! It fucking is! No! It's not a sonar, thank God. Unfortunately, it's that yellow thing again. Are they Peter Folding's thumbs? When was this, 85? No, it wouldn't have been Folding, would it? Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know. Folding was... he started his company in 99. But then again, that's a little conflicting on when that was actually started. So, potentially could be. He was working with search parties. Oh, my leg. makes it even more difficult with so much water surrounding it. It doesn't seem like it, but we're talking 3, 6, 10 separate bodies. I don't know if that large piece there on the left-hand side is actually supposed to be the sea. But at least 10 bodies of water there. To another hostel. Oh, so that backpack is camouflage. That impossible to see that. Impossible. Even at the bed of the of a lake. It's got a camouflage in, isn't it? I suppose it's going to be... If they had sonar, I wonder if they'd be able to go down that deep. There's so many missing people that have got backpacks. Claudia Lawrence. We've got this lady. We've got Finn that's missing in Scotland. A number of others. Seems to be... I wouldn't say it was a common feature, but it's a repeating pattern. In the world of unidentified people and missing people. The reason I watch some of these is not just because it's nostalgic. the amount of cases that I've looked at in the missing persons unit. What if one day there's a body's recovered and it just takes someone like me or yourselves to watch one of these old episodes and gone, do you know, remember that missing person on that episode? It was on Crime Watch. We might not be able to remember the episode, but possibly by playing a game of memory, we could help end that trauma. And also, I find it very interesting to learn how they solve cases and what happens to cases years later. We've seen some cases where people have been convicted and found innocent. We've seen cases where they haven't been solved, but 40 odd years later they were solved. We've seen all manner of new technology and different methods of forensics throughout Crime Watch, from the identikit to fingerprint software. I find it extremely interesting. We can only learn from things like that. While some of these methods might not be used today, they're still extremely interesting. They didn't need that soundbite. So a very sociable, functioning woman. I would be, I would have to confirm that with other locals, you know. Nothing on the lorry driver, just everything's suspicious, isn't it? You know, until you know the answer. But I would be like, I'd need to confirm that. You've seen quite a lot in the day, and the victim, and were probably the last person to see her alive before maybe the killer got to her. I'd need to corroborate that. Well, one thing that I would focus on is the fact that there's a flower show going on, a competition. Might not mean much to most of yous, right? But your flowers, if you grow flowers, they're your babies from seed to finish, right? When they're your prize flowers, they're something more, right? And it doesn't take much to imagine that humans get jealous and will go to extraordinary lengths to stop somebody winning the competition. I'm not saying it's a prime and most perfect reason to take for it to be a reason to take someone, but I have seen something similar to that. There was a case of a woman that was murdered. He was involved in the Cats Protection League. She was murdered because somebody else wanted to head the Cats Protection League in this area, right? Or something to do with cats anyway, right? And I think it really destroyed that charity. It literally destroyed it. And you would never in a million years have thought that someone would do such a thing. And in her village, people noticed that it was this man with a cat was walking round. And they were like, he was strange, he was weird. And so they thought, well, hang on, this man had a cat. He's strange in the village. She looks after cats. Did this man go to her house? Well, it turns out he did. And it was on the orders of somebody else. Whether it was his mother or whatever she was, his partner, I don't know. She was a right ignorant cow. I vividly remember her complaining to the police when they were searching her property. Close the door, you're letting the heat out. She's a right moany old cow. But when that's your whole world and somebody else's whole world, I think there is that possible chance, and having that conflict of competition. Conflict of competition, that didn't make sense. That was word salad. Having that competition could create a conflict. There we go, Cal. Get your sentences out. So I think that'd be definitely something I would take into account. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention as well why I paused it. The other thing I would want to look at, right, is who went to that flower show, because that's got to have people coming in and out of the village. There's got to be people from neighbouring villages or small little areas that would go into that flower show, because they don't have much of a community and that'd be still part of theirs. Or, depending how famous it was, people do travel to these shows. So I'd definitely be like, who were the participants? Did she have any problems with any of those? And a bike. Was it Stokeland? Sutherland. I just wanted to see if there was any updates in regards to that one. So someone was charged with a murder, but then seemed to have been cleared. Man cleared of murder after 18 years in prison. George McPhee, who spent 18 years in prison for the murder of Black Isle, in the Black Isle in 1985 of Elizabeth Totsey Sutherland, called for a public inquiry yesterday after winning a lengthy legal battle to clear his name. Mr. McPhee, this was published in 2005. Yeah, December 2005. Mr. McPhee, 50, of Immingham, Lincolnshire, has consistently protested his innocence, and the case was referred back to the appeal court after an investigation by the Scottish Criminal Case Review Commission, known as the SCCRC. He was freed on bail in 2003, pending the outcome of the case. The Crown recently accepted that Mr. McPhee was the victim of a miscarriage of justice and said it would no longer seek to support the guilty verdict against him. I love how it's just the totality of it happens, but we don't get the details. It was a miscarriage of justice. How? What the fuck did you do? Mr. McPhee's counsel raised doubts about the credibility of evidence given by key witnesses and police. However, Northern Constabulary said last night it will not reopen the case and is not seeking anyone else for the murder. What a cop-out that is. What a cop-out that is. Just been freed after 18 years, and there's still the implication of, we're not going to look for anyone else. We won't go for the 18 years of his life taken away. Wow. Yesterday, the Court of Appeal in Edinburgh, Mr. McPhee stared straight ahead as Lord Justice Clark, Lord Gill, sitting with Lord Nimmo Smith, and Lord Osborne told him his conviction was quashed. Supported by his wife Pauline, 43, and sons George, 24, and Andrew, 23, he said, "I feel great now, but a bit disappointed that we don't know what happened or how it came about that I was in prison for 18 years. I would like a public inquiry to find out exactly what happened." That's what the police should be saying. That the police should be saying, right, we've gone through the Court of Appeal. Not, oh, do you know what? We're not going to look for anybody else. What, you're just going to give up for Totsey now, yeah? Now they should be saying, let's do a public inquiry. We need to get to the bottom of it. We need to know how we got it so wrong. Not drop subtle hints. Asked if he had a message for Mr. Sutherland's family, he added, "I hope they get the person that committed the murder, because he's still out there, or she's still out there somewhere." Miss Sutherland's husband, Kenny, declined to comment, but a friend said, "There is no change in the minds of the family about the verdict. It's a distressing time, and they just want to be left alone." A spokesman for Northern Constabulary said the force has cooperated fully with SCCRC and that all available evidence was reported to the Procurator Fiscal at the time. The killing of Miss Sutherland, called Totsey because of a 4'9", 6 stone 4 pound build, is one of the most notorious crimes in the Highlands. Mr. McPhee was found guilty of a murder in December 1985 and jailed for life with a recommendation that he serve no less than 25 years. The judge, Lord Hunter, described the killing as peculiarly callous and brutal. Miss Sutherland disturbed a housebreaker and was stabbed 7 times with a kitchen knife and had her throat slit. What? Why do I find that bit out of place? There's something very close about doing that. You know? She was stabbed 7 times with a kitchen. I wonder if it was her own kitchen knife. Her body was found by a 10-year-old daughter. Almost a year later, Mr. McPhee was arrested. He was brought up in the Kabuki area, but having moved to Humberside, he returned to the Black Isle on several housebreaking raids. Mr. McPhee blamed an accomplice, Colin Hawkins, for the murder, insisting he had remained outside the house, but Mr. Hawkins insisted it was Mr. McPhee who had gone in. Oh, so the miscarriage then. What do you mean? Do you want to know how? What do you mean you want to know how? How it came to be that you were in prison for 18 years? Don't know, you know. Maybe understanding why the police are like, we're not going to look for anyone else. Already got them both, didn't they? Footprints made by the same person were found inside and outside the house. A cast was made, and Detective Superintendent Andrew Lister, who later died, told the trial that Mr. Hawkins' size 7 feet were too small, but Mr. McPhee's size 9s were the right size. Oh! Reminds me of the murder of Ashley Dale, that. When we were talking about the shoe sizes on the door. However, the jury never heard the officer's opinion on the footprint had been contracted by a scientist. After he felt bitter, Mr. McPhee said, I had my feelings, yes, but what can you say? The guy's no longer with us. There's good and bad in all walks of life. I don't know. You know. I feel like you're being too, bit too... I'll take the higher road. Can't say. So, effectively, we know he was at the scene then. Because it's not said here that he's saying he wasn't at the scene. He's saying he was at the scene. I'm sorry, but the getaway driver is just as important as a gun, right? People won't go... If by what he says is true that it was the other person, that person would never have got there. That person wouldn't have drove him there, knowing that he was going to rob that property. Already, you would know when you're stealing from a property, you're upturning somebody's life. And so from the outset, the danger was already there. Served 18 years in prison. About fucking right as well. About right. To be quite honest with you, what a waste of the public's money to overturn that conviction. Yeah, even the family are like, we don't want to talk about this. I can understand that. So, is this the only reason why it was upturned then? So there was a contradiction on the footprint. I'm not being funny, right? I'm not being funny. You've gone to rob an house, you're the getaway driver, yeah? The accomplice comes out of the house after slitting a woman's throat and stabbing her 7 times. 7 fucking times. 7 times. And he never thought, oh, he just killed someone. Bull. Absolute bull. No. No. How are you questioning why you've been there for 18 years? I think, to be quite fucking honest with you, is what it is, isn't it? Is what it is. Same shit, different toilet, as they say. Well, anyway, that's it for March's 1985 Crime Watch. And the horrific story of James Desborough and his godlike complex. Fucking idiot he is. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow and we will have a look at the... Oh, is it not playing? Oh, I've just gone through the whole thing and it's not playing. I've seen it on this side as well, it's not playing. You only heard it before because it was going... What the fuck?
Morning, Alice.
Morning, Tots.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheerio just now.
Cheerio.
Well, maybe I'll watch another one tomorrow then, Dry Spell. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Dry Spell. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll come back tomorrow. We'll watch one more of we'll watch the Legacy one because I find that quite interesting. We've been watching that for a bit now, so we'll go over the sentence and remarks of that one. But clearly, it was in regards to the Legacy funeral directors. We're talking at least 30 bodies that he disrespected. So quite a horrific one, so bear yourselves for that one. Have a nice night, Dry Spell, and you too, Lee. Have a great night, and thank you very much for watching.